If you want to build a life of possibility, set a firm foundation on relationships. Today on Growing Hope, we begin the process of unwrapping how everything worth having and worth doing is founded in and on relationships.
It's time for Growing Hope, the show determined to grow up hearts open to pursue the extraordinary. Because you are extraordinary! And now, live from a little cabin in the woods, nestled along Big Spring Creek, it's your host, Kathryn Lang.
Hello and welcome to Growing Hope, where we are making friends, having fun, and finding ways to be relentlessly helpful. I am Kathryn Lang, your encourager extraordinaire, because when you have others cheering you on, you dare to do a little more. So I'm here to cheer you on. I mean, who doesn't like having a cheering section when you're trying to grow up your big dreams? I've been connecting with some folks through different Twitter chats. I've talked about how I love doing Twitter chats. And over the last several years, I've developed some really good relationships through these regular engagements. Sometimes it's through Twitter, and sometimes it's through other communication. I've even met some of my Twitter connections in person. But these connections have grown up into relationships. They have become supportive and encouraging. We laugh together. We share each other's wins. We comfort each other in the losses and the struggles. We offer to open doors to help others get to where they want to be. And we help each other through the doors that we get opened. The other day, I was tagged on Twitter by one of these connections that have grown up into relationships. Tom Reed is all about leadership. He's written a book on leadership, and he talks about leadership. But this time, he tagged me. He was sharing how the little bit system that I utilize, it might have been something that could help this other person out. And I didn't even know the other person. I got caught up in their conversation because of the engagement and connections that Tom and I have made through Twitter and grown up into a relationship through other communications. When you are invested in people, then they invest in you. When you are sharing with people, then they share you. Tom said, if you aren't following Kathryn, then you need to be. And it made my morning. We need to be invested in making and growing relationships because we are stronger and we are better when we go together. Relationships are going to help you find your footing. They're going to make you stronger. They're going to make you bolder. They're going to help you pursue what you're designed to be. And relationships start as connections. Relationships continue through engagement. Relationships will develop your accountability. Relationships will solidify your support. Relationships will produce encouragement loops. We're designed and we need to be invested in relationships. If we are going to meet our unique design, if we're going to live out all that we're designed to be and all that we're purposed to be, relationships are a must. I've mentioned probably more than once that for the first 22 years of parenthood, I had people with me all the time because we homeschooled. And this is the first time in 22 years that I'm home alone almost all day. Now, some of you may be shocked to discover that I'm an extrovert. I am energized being around other people and engaging with other people. I thrive in connectivities. Well, being here alone, I didn't even realize that it was so important to be engaged until the other day when I wasn't able to engage in online activity. Our vehicle situation keeps me from being able to go to do what I want to do, so I was just being able to engage with others online. And this one day, I didn't get to engage with anybody. And by the end of the day, I was frustrated and I was taking it out on anyone and everyone because I had not been engaged with others. I missed the connections. And without those connections, I was struggling. I needed the relationships. We all need relationships because we're better when we're together. We're stronger when we do things in relationship. When we connect with other, a threefold cord is harder to break than a single cord. And that's what relationships produce. They produce that threefold cord. With the right people, you can create your world domination. With the right people around you, you can live out your big dreams. With the right people in your life, you can live in purpose and on purpose. With the right people, the journey's more enjoyable. To get the right people, you have to be invested in relationships. You can't just go along to get along. You can't just go along alone. You're not supposed to do it alone. Now, ultimately, everything comes down to your choices. We all have to choose for ourselves. But those choices become manageable, and we become bolder in our choices when we invest in the relationships to give us the support and the foundation to stand strong. Relationships begin with the connections. You have to meet and greet to grow and go. My mother always said that I never met a stranger. Remind me to tell you that story sometime. And my youngest son has developed that same skill or talent. Some days it's a blessing, some days not so much. Well, not too long ago, my husband and I were at a local store, and we met with someone, or we ran into someone that he had been working with for 3 years. I had never met the man. And as they're talking, my husband expresses that he's now going to be teaching at the local Christian school, and the man's like, "Oh, well, my daughter goes there. Oh, she's in the same grade, and it turns out the same grade as our son." And my husband said, "Our son goes there," and they're in the same grade. And he said, "Oh, who's your son?" And my husband told him. He's like, "Oh, I know him." And all I could think was, how do you know my son? This is the first year my son has gone to the school. But you know, it's not the first time we've heard this. We, on more occasions than I can count, have had people say, "Everybody knows your son." He is invested in making friends. He's invested in having fun. He makes friends with the younger kids and the older kids and the kids his age and the adults. He isn't focused on who is who and who he should be friends with. He's just making friends. It makes it easy for him to create those connections. If you're going to grow up relationships to help you pursue your big dreams, then you have to be as invested in connections as my son is willing to be. Once you make the connections, you grow up those connections by investing and making time for engagement. Engagement is simple. It's the sharing and supporting. Sharing laughter, sharing support, sharing ideas, sharing creativity. I started attending a blogger group a few years back after I launched my full-time writing career, and we would meet up about once a month for lunch, and we would just talk and have a good time, have a good meal. But about once a quarter or so, we would get together and share tips and ideas for content creation, and we would challenge each other to get things done. Now, the group doesn't meet anymore, but because of those regular investments, I now have some foundational relationships that are invested in me because I am invested in them. Sharing together helps each of us expand beyond the individual limitations. Building up relationships also will increase accountability. The more that you are around people, the more the people know you. And the more the people know you, the easier it is to be held accountable for what you need to do, what you know to do, and to help you follow through. I signed up to be part of a writing co-op, And once a week, we would get together and share our word counts for the week, our writing struggles, our writing triumphs, and all that kind of information. The consistent engagement with the group pushed me some weeks, because I knew that the meeting was coming up, and I would push myself to get something done. But on those few weeks when the group missed because of holidays, I just put it off. I mean, after all, I now had 2 weeks. I didn't have to do it right now, so I could just wait. I could get it done later. By having regular engagement and developing these relationships, the accountability pushes you to do it and to get it done, because you know that you're going to be connecting with those relationships on a regular basis. Sometimes it is an actual meetup like the writer co-op, but sometimes it's just a talk. You will find that it's hard to hide your actions or your inactions from those who know you best. You will be accountable to the relationships that you have invested to grow up. The relationships you have will provide support for you and strengthen you as you support those in the relationship. Every week, Urban Engine in Huntsville hosts co-working night. It's free to attend, and there's a wide variety of classes and groups. Well, I volunteered to lead a group for writing, 8 weeks to write your book. The idea was to support others in their writing journey, but in the end, it ended up supporting me as I supported them, because that's how support works. I wrote more in those 8 weeks than I had in the months previous, just working alone. And several in the group are finishing up their first books, because together we had the support we needed to do what we wanted to do. The people you are around will provide you with the encouragement you need for your journey. The relationships that you're invested in will give you the boost you need to make that next move. Each morning, I try to get up and get done with my first set of to-dos so that I have time to listen to Tom Rigsby's 7 Minutes in the Morning live stream. I watch it on Facebook. I started out dropping in to annoy him because that's what friends do, right? But he challenges me, and the quotes that he offers encourage me. And then I started engaging with him, and he was engaging with me, and I was engaging with the others that were there, and we all began to encourage each other and support each other and build up these relationships. Encouragement begets encouragement, which leads to encouragement. That's the encouragement loop. You need relationships if you're going to have the encouragement you need to live out your big dreams. I believe in the power that comes from relationships. We are designed to work together, to grow together, and to be together because we are better in relationships. It can get easy to get caught up in what you're doing. It can be easy to be lost in the chaos of this world and be so focused on the world and what it's doing that we miss the people that are around us. But the people make the difference. The people are what we need in order to connect with and engage with and grow up the relationships. We have to be invested in the people around us if we're going to get to where we want to go, because we cannot do it alone. Yes, we have to make the choices for ourselves. Yes, we have to take the actions ourselves, but we cannot do it alone, and we're not supposed to. It was at one of the co-working nights where a new person inspired the focus on snarky rainbows. And when I shared that little sarcasm on social media, then tagged it with snarky rainbows, others started doing that as well. And I began finding others using the snarky rainbows hashtag and sharing snarky twisted encouragement and wordplay and even dubbing themselves snarky sisters. And the more we engaged, the more we built up this bond and this connection that then allowed us to create more connections, because more people were sharing the snarky rainbows and the snarky sisters because it was fun. We were having fun together. And that is the beginning of what it is that we're trying to do. We make the connections and then we begin to grow up the relationships because that's what makes the difference for our lives. The more you're willing to invest in others, the more you will find the investment feeds your possibilities. You need the relationships so that you can be your unique all. You cannot do it on your own. You can do some things, but you cannot be all that you're designed to be because part of that design is that you be in relationships. Relationships set the foundation for standing strong in you, standing as your unique self. Without those relationships, you will struggle to be all that you're called to be. Relationships start with connections. Relationships grow up with engagement. Relationships create accountability. Relationships provide the support for possibilities. Relationships offer encouragement loops. I love encouragement loops. We are building a balanced life, and relationships are an important part of the process. We aren't supposed to try to do this alone because we're designed to be together. The homeschooling folks that are in our area are more than just homeschoolers, separate homeschoolers. They're a community. I didn't know what I was getting into the first time that I attended a homeschool co-op, but I don't know what I could do without them. Those first people I met, that very first co-op, I am still connected to them. They still support and encourage me. When something happens, they rally around each other. As a matter of fact, when we were displaced by the tornadoes, the first people to show up were some of our homeschooling community, followed closely by the scout troop, which set us up a dining tent. When my mom died in 2012, the same day as my son's birthday party, it was my homeschooling family that I called. And they didn't just show up and take my son's home, but they ran that entire party like it was their own, and they got amazing pictures. And my son was better because of those relationships. Relationships help us stay on track, and relationships help us reach all the potential, because everything worth doing and everything worth being is about relationships. How are you investing in relationships? I want to hear from you. Connect with me over at the Growing Hope Radio Facebook group and share your experiences for building relationships. When you share your experiences, you encourage me and you make me stronger in those connections. When we begin the encouragement loop, that's how we begin to really form relationships. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Growing Hope, where we will build relationships so that we can grow up balanced lives. We're going to continue to find ways to invest in relationships so that we can grow up all of our possibilities. If you want to build your life of possibility and purpose, then you need to set a firm foundation, and that is where relationships come in. You are designed to be in relationship, and you are better when you're invested in relationships. You have to make the choices. You have to make your own way. You have to take the action, but you will be stronger and you will be bolder when you are founded on relationships. Choose to connect. Choose to engage. Choose to grow up the relationships that will grow you into all that you are designed to be. Relationships are where it starts. But relationships are also what will get you through those tough times. When you don't think you have it in you to keep going, the relationships will be what keeps you going. Relationships matter. It really is all about relationships. I am Kathryn Lang, and I am here to tell you that hope makes a difference, because every day holds a promise of more, and every action contains the power of possibility. It's not about what the world says or even what the world shows, The strength of hope and encouragement will and does push through the limits and the walls of the world. My prayer is and always will be that the words I share are helping establish foundations of hope that will shatter the delusions of the world around us. Until next time, remember, in all that you're doing, be blessed and be a blessing.
Thank you for joining us for Growing Hope with Kathryn Lang, where we are sharing hope, encouragement, and inspiration to do more. Visit www.kathrynlang.com to invite Kathryn to be part of your event or to share your own stories of possibility living. Until next time, remember that a seed of hope planted and nurtured will grow up into a world of possibilities.